Hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar. We've run this webinar before a couple of times, and each time we do it, we introduce new features. And that's what we want to do today, is to show you some of our existing features, but also show you some of the new features that have been added. But this time we want to go a step further as well and show you how ThingLink can be used in ways that maybe you haven't thought of before. And that's why we're calling this webinar Accessible by Design, and that is creating inclusive learning experiences with ThingLink. After the webinar, we'll send you an email which will have all of the slides and all the resources and all of the links as well. And we also encourage you to ask questions as well. If you're not watching this live, then please do get in touch with us either through the support@thinglink.com. You're welcome to contact Ivan at thinglink.com, myself, or Claudia. So I've given a hint away there. I'm also joined today by the wonderful Ivan. Hi, Ivan. How are you?
Hello. Doing very well. We are entering spring in Helsinki finally. It's the warmest day this year so far, I believe, so doing great.
Excellent. And we've got Claudia joining. Claudia, you're joining us from Italy.
Hi, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. You're very welcome with us this evening. And today we're going to talk about something that it's really important for me. That means accessibility, and not only accessibility, but accessibility by design. So we're going to show you thoughtful examples on how to create inclusive learning experiences using ThingLink. So stay tuned.
Brilliant. Okay. And, both of you feel free to jump in, ask questions. If you're watching this live, I know we've got a couple of people that are joining us. We haven't actually broadcast this webinar widely. We wanted to keep this as a resource as well, so that we're going to make sure that everyone can access it, and we'll chunk it up as well so that we can access specific parts. Right, let's move on. So if you are watching and you haven't used ThingLink before, you might be completely new to it. It's really difficult to come up with a way to describe what ThingLink is, and this is my attempt at it. But ThingLink helps you to take the real world, real places, environments, situations, your existing materials and stories, and bring them to life as accessible and immersive learning experiences. And in its simplest format, the easiest way to show you what this looks like is, imagine you've got an image of a growth sequence, and you could just have an image, and this is an AI generated image there, but you might have real images that you want to show. And what I'm able to do with ThingLink, and I've actually got this live here, is that I'm able to add these hotspots which enable me to add in further information. So think of your image as your base media, then you're adding in these touch points with additional information. And these can be a combination of text and media. They could be plain text. But what you'll see here as well is that I'm opening this number 1, which shows the germination point. The number 2 is opening. So I'm actually guiding my viewers through this concept and learning about the growth sequence. And it's these kinds of resources that really help your learners to grasp the concepts. And you could do this with really complex concepts as well. So if I just go on a little bit further, here's a 360 image. And if I click on the link and open this up live, you can see I've got a 360 image. And originally you might have been given a PDF to describe this particular very complex installation process. But with ThingLink, I'm able to add these hotspots and actually completely bring this to life. So it's a really lovely way of being able to break down complex processes. And of course, they'll be available on any device, anywhere, anytime. It means you can have it in your pocket, view it on the way to work, for example. So ThingLink as a solution has a number of component parts. We've got tools for image creation and AI generation. You can even use your phone to take a panoramic image and we'll turn that into a 360 photosphere. Then there's two main parts, our multimedia editor, which we're going to talk about today, and also our scenario builder. You'll also see there's XR and AR solutions. For example, ThingLink will work on VR headsets, right the way from Class VR to Apple Vision Pro. And we've got a number of accessibility features. And this is what we're going to really hone in on. And that is more than just language translation. It's a whole host of features. So we've kind of tried to put together, this is my attempt at trying to show how accessibility is so much more than features alone. Yes, there's accessibility by default, and these are tools that are there for the creator and the person that's viewing the experience or participating in the learning experience. We've also got a way that you can make your existing materials more accessible. And we've all seen Notebook LM's latest kind of infographics. We've all seen those kinds of sketch notes and mind maps, but they're just not accessible. So how can you bring those to life and make them accessible? And then on the other side of the fence, we've also got how ThingLink can be used for accessibility and also create a very inclusive school community and enable dignity in our learning. And that is all about supporting comfort, confidence, understanding. ThingLink for transitions, school transitions and processes. And then on that last column there, you're seeing how you can use ThingLink to connect with your learners in truly impactful ways. And Claudia's got some really nice examples. So that, in a nutshell, is the 4 key blocks of this webinar. But first of all, Ivan, you're going to start us talking through with us around some of the key features that we see. And this has been quite a milestone for ThingLink. This was one of the first major breakthroughs I think we put in probably back in the early 2018, 2019, something like that.
Yeah, 2020, I believe.
2020. So with the immersive reader, and on this slide, you'll see there's a link here which takes you directly to all of the support articles. So here we've got one about the immersive reader. And if I just go back to my growth sequence example here, and I click on the number 2, you can see that I've got this text here. If I click on the immersive reader icon, this is where it's going to show you all of the features that you've got. Of course, you've got text.
Stage 2, seedling.
But also you can translate this into other languages as well and add other tools for accessibility. So first of all, we can look at text preferences. We can change the text size. We can change the themes as well for saturation. You can also add in different parts of the speech and reading preferences as well. You can even toggle on a picture dictionary. So if I hover over the words there, you can see the picture dictionary in action. If you want to use the translation with this, you can translate the text by choosing the language. I'm going to choose a language. Let's choose Italian, as we have Claudia with us. And by selecting document, it will translate all of that language, and you also have text
Fase 2,
there as well, which is just incredible. And there's over 80 different languages there that you're able to choose from. And that immersive reader is going to be baked in to every text and media tag that you create with ThingLink. On to the next one. Keyboard navigation. Right, I'm going to hand over to you now, Ivan.
Yeah, absolutely. So like Louise said, the first chapter of this webinar really is about the tools that we provide to allow you to make your content accessible, but then also some built-in features that are just part of the platform. And Immersive Reader is a great example of something that you will always have there by default. It's not something that you have to actually set up. On any piece of media you set up, on any tag you add, your learners will be able to access that. But the other feature that is there by default is keyboard navigation. And this isn't new, but this is something that we are continually improving. So for any content you create, your students will be able to either just use their mouse, or if you're sharing on a touch screen, just touch the hotspots, which is always great. But if you have any students or learners who prefer to use keyboard navigation, we make sure that they can easily navigate throughout the whole experience. They can select tags, they can open tags, they can select individual elements within the hotspots. If you have multiple images in your tag, you can easily switch between them. You can select the text again. So there is just a host of these very minor things that we have improved over time that just ensure that the whole experience can be accessed using a keyboard. The other aspect of this is if you are like me, you do not like to take off your hands off your keyboard when you are editing something, if you're writing a text. We've also taken steps to improve keyboard navigation in the content creation interface. So in addition to just being able to navigate through your experiences using your keyboard when you're viewing them, you can also now use the good old tab key and enter key just to select different elements in the editor. So let's say you're filling out a text and media tag, you can just use the tab key to switch to the next field that you need to fill. And the next feature that we would like to talk about is the alt text. The accessibility player, jumping ahead a bit. So if you have been using ThingLink for a while, this is something that should be familiar, because this is also something that is there by default. On any project you create, you will see a little accessibility button in the bottom right corner, and that will always take the viewer to the accessibility view or accessibility player. And thank you, Louise. Yeah, that is the button, and here is the view. The accessibility view is essentially an alternative view for your ThingLink content that still presents everything you have added. So all of the tags, all of the hotspots, all of the images and videos, all of the links, but it changes the layout so it's easier to use for screen reader users, for people who prefer keyboard navigation. And in addition to that, it also has a number of built-in settings that you can use on the right-hand side here. Like you can change the contrast if, for whatever reason, the contrast in the content is not sufficient for you. You can use the built-in screen reader. You can highlight links if that is something you like. You can adjust the text size really easily, or text spacing. So there's just a number of built-in features that make this content easier to consume. One of the projects that we've spent a lot of time on recently is ensuring that a lot of features that were previously unique to accessibility view are slowly transitioning into the main player as well. So if you are somebody who tests for accessibility features, you will notice that just the default ThingLink view is also becoming more and more accessible. But the accessibility view is likely going to remain just as an alternative method for those who prefer it. And then going back to what I accidentally spoiled is the alt text. Again, not a new feature per se. This is something we've had for a few years now, I believe. But for any piece of media you add to your ThingLink project, again, going back to the hotspots we just showed that can contain images, you can very easily go into the project name, yes, and that will, if you check the add alternative text box there, you can set the alt text for the project as a whole and for the background image. But if we go into the editor, and thank you very much, Louise, and open any of these, and then hover over the image, you will see a very little three dot icon there. And that icon allows you to then go in and add a caption that would be shown on top of the text, but it also allows you to set the alt text that is actually going to be used by the screen readers. Again, these are optional. What we do is we try to populate them automatically whenever we can based on just file names. But you always have the opportunity to make it better. You always have the opportunity to customize it. And that's not something you're going to see in the editor, but if you have screen reader users, trust me, they'll very much appreciate it. And then I think I'm going to pass back to Louise to talk about yet another feature we have.
Great, thanks, Ivan. So we've gone through some really good basics there, and we did show you the immersive reader. And the immersive reader enabled you to translate the contents of that individual tag. But what would be really helpful if you could translate the entire scene in one click. And that's what we've enabled you to do with the automatic translations. So I'm just going to pop on back to the growth sequence example here. And you remember, we've got these lovely text and media tags that have got different stages, and you can see them opening there in sequence. You'll see at the bottom in this view that there is a translation icon. That's a universally recognized icon for translation, the TA. And when the viewer clicks on this, it will give them the option to translate the whole ThingLink into the language of choice. Now, this is a feature that's really easy for you to toggle on. You'll see at the bar at the top here, I have my translate icon, and this is the settings for the translations and language preferences. Here you can select which languages you want to show in the translate icon in the right hand side. You're also able to edit translations. Sometimes computers don't always get things right, do they? And you might want to edit the translations, and you can do that by clicking on the pen icon here, which opens up this screen, and it shows you your original text, the language that you've chosen, and the translated version. And it's super easy to make sure that your language is spot on, taking into account any local dialects. And there you're able to edit that directly in this pop-up window, save and close, and that will be edited. You're also able to upload your own JSON file and download the translations as JSON files there as well. So if you want a little bit more help with that, you'll also be able to click on the Learn More linked button there, and that'll take you to Ivan's support article all about translations. Did I cover everything, Ivan?
The only thing I'd add is if we go into the share menu, so one way to share your translated content is, yes, to just let your viewer pick what language they prefer to use, but you can also embed content or share a link to it in a predefined language. So if we click the language selector there, unfortunately due to, oh, great, actually you can see it here. We can select a language, and let's say we select Italian. You'll see that it modifies the link. And if we send this link to somebody now, or if we set up a QR code for it, whenever they open the experience, it will just automatically load in that language. So let's say if you are creating a course that's available in multiple languages, you don't have to create multiple ThingLink projects. You can just create one of them, translate it, and then embed different language versions into different language versions of your course or web page or whatever you are setting up. So that's kind of another difference between Immersive Reader and this. Immersive Reader is there to let your learners just translate things on the fly, whereas this is something that you can set up proactively and then share in whatever language you believe is useful to your learners.
Amazing, Ivan. Thank you for taking us through that. And the next feature we're going to focus on is the AI assistance tools that have been added. So like most EdTech tools out there, AI has been added. And I want to just make sure that you know that this was quite a thoughtful change for us. We had a consultation with our communities of creators, and we asked them how they wanted us to implement AI. And we heard loud and clear that you wanted the ability to turn these on and off if you wanted to. So you're able to turn AI on and off. And you also wanted transparency about how we've done this. And there's support articles that Ivan's got all about how AI is used and your data is used within ThingLink as well. So I'm just going to show you some of the tools within the ThingLink interface. So I'm going to go into my ThingLink account, and the first thing I'm going to show you is that you've just got this really helpful Copilot, and that is there to ask any questions about how to do things, but also to help you generate ideas as well. I find this really useful when I'm using Scenario Builder and I want to create a scenario from scratch. I can ask the Copilot to suggest structures for my scenario-based learning. The other AI tools which are there to help you as well is very much with our creation process for creating your base media. And this is only going to grow and get better and better. So as you can imagine, when you click on the image, you can search for an image very easily. You'll be able to design with Canva as well, but you can also generate an image and be able to put the prompts in there. And by toggling on this button, you can enhance your prompt as well. You're also able to do that for 360 images as well. So you can use our own 360 library. You can use Pano to 360, which means you can take a panoramic image with your phone, upload that to ThingLink, and we'll turn it into a photosphere. You can even generate with AI as well. So you are able to generate a 360 image just with a text prompt. And again, you can toggle on and enhance that prompt as well. So that's the very beginnings of when you're starting to use ThingLink and you've got your base media and you've set that. But when you go to the create button and go to an image, for example, and search for an image, and I'll just search for something quite innocuous like a bridge. And here we've got a nice picture of I think it's probably the Golden Gate Bridge. And now you can see that there's a button there that says get started with help from ThingLink. And here you can click continue and generate your tags about bridges. You need more than 3 words and it will create some tags based on your text prompt as well. So you can now generate your image, you can generate your tags with support as well. And here you can see that there's 6 tags there, all about bridges. If I actually go into this one, you'll see that there's an AI feature here. I can even generate the images to go directly in my tags as well. So whilst this isn't truly an accessibility feature, it is about making life easier for you as a creator, but also it's about giving you a little bit of a leg up, a help to get started using ThingLink as well. So there we have it. We have a nice image to go with that. So those are features that I think really help ThingLink creators to get started. There's also within our scenario builder a number of AI features that you can use, which will enable you to upload either a PDF or maybe you've got slides about particular context. You could download those as a PDF, upload those into ThingLink, and the scenario builder will be able to generate a structure for you as well, including questions. And we have another webinar exclusively about scenario builder that we would urge you to take a look at for that as well. Okay, let's move on. So the next thing that we really want to show you is the new features to the creator interface. Ivan, our demo, and if you could give us an overview, please, that would be great.
Absolutely, thank you. So this is brand new since last webinar. This is something we released a couple months ago, but as you might have seen, we have taken again a number of projects aimed at improving the content creation side of things, not just the content consumption. So one of these is a change to how your interface can look like. So if we go into profile settings and then go to general, one of the new settings you'll see here is interface settings, and that is font size and contrast. So if you find that, ThingLink font size is too small for you, maybe you're working on a huge screen like some of our colleagues, you can now just toggle that to a larger font size or maybe even extra large. If you find that the default contrast ratio is not for you, maybe you want things to be not as colorful but easier to read, you can also enable high contrast levels. And while this will remove some more branding, again, it might make it easier for you. And of course, by default, we make sure that the contrast ratio of all elements meets the accessibility requirements. But again, if you find that that is not sufficient for you, this is something you can now easily control at your account level. If you have an organizational account, And if we go to the organization page and then go to settings and scroll a bit down, these same settings are also available to your organization administrators. So if you have a school account on ThingLink, if you have a university account, or really any kind of organizational account, you can also change the default setting for all of your users. So if you want all of your teachers and students, all of your creators and learners to use the high contrast UI by default, that is something you can do here. If you believe that, again, our default font size is a tad too small, you can also change this for the whole organization. And your individual users are always, of course, in control of the settings applied to them, just the default that you can pre-select for them.
Amazing. That's a really good step. And I know that many companies and technology solutions focus only on the accessibility features for the people who maybe are viewing or participating in learning experiences, but we're really making strides for the creator experience as well. And I know that's been a big project and a big piece of work for you moving forward. And we'd like to thank some of our universities who have worked with us in making some of those improvements.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the goals right now is to basically make sure that ThingLink is accessible to all creators, regardless of any special needs they might have. So that kind of takes us to the next slide. This is not something we'll be able to demonstrate easily on the webinar, but we have also spent time on improving screen reader support for the creation interface. So if any of your content creators rely on screen reader assistance, we have made sure that all of the default interface elements in the editor, in your media list, just throughout ThingLink, are now working much better with screen readers. So all of the buttons will have the roles defined. It will make a lot more sense if you're relying on screen reader, essentially.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ivan. And another big development that we've seen within our scenario builder is that there is now options to have narration in your text blocks. So if you're using scenario builder and you want to make sure that you're giving an overview option of the text that's in that text block, you're able to do that too. Let's have a look at what that looks like. So I'm just going to go into my ThingLink account and go straight into the scenario builder. And in scenario builder, you'll be familiar with the different blocks that you can add: media blocks, text blocks, branching blocks, question blocks, and this one, which is actually in beta, which you can see on my screen, which is for conversational AI. Here I have a text block, and when you go into the text block now, and the editor mode, you'll see that there's an ability to generate narration. If I click on this, you can see that there's my original text that's in the text block, and I can select between a single speaker and they're going to read that text verbatim, or as you might have heard on other tools like Notebook LM, you can create that kind of deep dive style podcast and have multiple speakers as well. But you can also choose the voices as well. So I'm going to choose Enceladus for this one, which suits my scenario, which is all about a book, 1984. Simply click generate, and this will generate your narration. We've called it narration because it's a bit more than just a text reader, because you've also got that ability to create that deep dive style podcast. And here we have my text, which is now ready for me to preview. You're also able to download that MP4 file if you wanted to and use it in other parts of ThingLink. So that's a really nice way of being able to use this tool. Make sure you click the save button and it will then be available in your text block. So let's just have a look at what that looks like. If I go to the preview, here I've got my 360 of the George Orwell's 1984. And then I've got my text block, which is setting out my context and my challenge. And I've also got my...
You work at the Ministry of Truth, altering past records.
And I've got my text overview. So it's all about bringing this different modes of modality into your experiences as well. It's not just text to speech. It's about creating that immersive experience. Okay, moving on, because I know that we don't have a whole heap of time. So the next thing we're going to show you is that previously on our webinars, we focused on how to add closed captions to your videos, which are in your text and media tags. But now you can add your closed caption files to all of the videos, whether you're using a video in a tag or you're using your video in your base media. And I'm going to show you really quickly how to do that. So you might be familiar with some of the ones that I've shown you before, or if you've not seen this before, I've got a fictitious CEO, and her name's Hannah, and I've created this lovely welcome for my fictitious company, which is called Nexitech. So clicking on the button here, I'm Hannah. You can see that if I was trying to make this accessible to people, I would actually have had the text in the text and media tag, and it's actually what Hannah's saying here. But I can now add closed captions to this so that it gives people the option to either read the text here. Also, I've got the captions button. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Simply click the edit button. And
hello, I'm Hannah Morales.
I'm going to stop that text from the video. And if you scroll down here, you can see that I can upload audio and I can also upload captions. So I've already got captions there, so I'm just going to remove those and show you again. So click on the three dots here, upload the captions, which you can upload in sub-rip formats. I've got this one ready to add in. There we go. And you can click done and see that now when I click done and done again, when I click on
hello,
here,
I'm Hannah Morales.
I can turn my captions on. So I've got captions directly in that video, which is great. But what happens if you want the video to have captions in where you're just using video as base media? So here I've got our video, which is all about Hannah Morales. Here I've got the text in just a plain text and media tag, but here I've just got an image. If you want to add closed captions to the video, we can do this in the editor.
I'm Hannah Morales.
And if you go to the settings of your ThingLink, here you can upload captions, again in the subrip or on the VTT file, upload those, and now you will see, if I click done again, and I click
hello,
on the video,
I'm Hannah.
You've got your closed captions icon there. So that's really useful, really helpful. And it means that you are thinking about the accessibility and the requirements of your learners all in one go. So closed captions are now available in tag and for videos that are used in your base media as well. So you might have seen at the beginning, I showed you that really lovely growth sequence, and there was actually an accessibility feature in there that we'd added, which was to really guide your viewers and prevent cognitive overload. And I'm just going to go back to this growth sequence here and show you how I did that so you can see how easy it is. So we've got guided mode, which enables these icons to flash in sequence. And you'll see that I've also added in locked mode, which means that learners can't move to another icon until they've opened them in sequence. Another little feature there that I think is really important to call out, you see that I hovered over that icon there and it gave me a preview. That again is a really nice feature that helps to remove cognitive overload by showing the learner what's going to be in that tag. So everything's been done incredibly thoughtfully to make sure that you're giving your learners the best experience possible. I'm going to click on the edit button, and these features are in the settings. And in the settings for your ThingLink, you'll see that there's something here that's called tag sequence. When I click on the tag sequence, you can see all of the tags there. And this is really easy to drag and drop and make sure that they are in the order that you want them to be in. So that's really easy. Just drag and drop them into the right order. And of course, when you've got them in the right order, you can then toggle on and off the locked mode as well. So that is quite simply tag sequence and locked mode. So I'm going to come out of that again, and then you can see that that's there. Next, we are going to start moving on to some of the other parts within the webinar today, which is not just about the features, but importantly, how we are creating accessible experiences from our existing materials. And this is something that you'll be able to do if you've got posters, if you've got images that you already use, like infographics. And I've got some nice examples here. This one is a poster about customer engagement, and it's been brought to life with those hotspots that really show what those customer skills are. I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm just going to go back into my ThingLink account and click on the media here, and I'm going to go into my folders, and I have one ready here to show you. So here we have the 6 key rules for customer engagement. Now, I've got images on there, and they are doing what I'm going to say in the tags, but for a learner to try and really grasp what those concepts are, why not add in some little videos that show the importance of being welcoming? So here we've got someone that's being welcoming as they're coming into the shop there. We've also got be informed, and the person here is reading the label on the bottles. Here we've got be careful of body language, and I've used Canva to create those little videos, which I've then uploaded into the tags. Now, they didn't have audio on, but you can also obviously add audio. So that's one that I've created, but let's have a look at one in practice and take it a little stage further. And Claudia, do feel free if you want to jump in and add anything in here, because I know that you know these examples as well. So this example here is actually something that was designed by Abid Patel. Abid is well known in the education technology world, and he produced this key facts about Ramadan and shared this as an image. And I contacted Abid and said, well, actually, we could make that accessible for you. So what I've done is I've just literally added in some hotspots that surface that text and add in some images. And then, of course, this can be shared as an accessible tool with all of the other accessibility features like translation and being able to be used with screen readers. So all we've done is just taken Abid's image and made it accessible. And of course, you know, it can be so much more engaging if we had it here. We've got a video with some audio as well, all about good deeds and how Muslims are encouraged to increase their worship and good deeds during Ramadan. So how much more engaging is that than just having a poster in your classroom? Claudia, I'm going to invite you to come in and add some commentary in here.
You know, it's very, very well. This is a poster which is amazing. You can put it there, perfect. But then after a while, people will start to be bored and don't even read anymore. Whereas with accessibility features, with the fact that you make it interactive, that you make it multimodal, it's actually an added value for the poster in itself. And for the content that are within the poster, of course, they are there, that we kind of tend to forget it there. It's a piece of paper, but this is much more than a piece of paper. Here you've got cultures, you've got belief, you've got an amazing religion. So here you've got, you know, how to behave, to properly behave as a good Muslim during Ramadan, and for us to respect that religion. And this is amazing. And the fact that you can have hotspots and you learn from these hotspots, and you've got like deepen things that allow you to deepen your knowledge and understanding on the topic, is just going the extra mile. And I think that for a teacher point of view, this is just a bonanza. Let me tell you that. It's just amazing. Yes, it is amazing, because at the end of the day, you allow your students to learn in a different way that is not simply stimulus response, but you're going to investigate. You're going to learn by doing, learn by discovering things. And this is an added value that you can't find it everywhere. So yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. And the second
Great.
example that you're going to show us, it's even cuter.
Oh, this is just lovely. So this
Yeah.
is actually a poster that was shared by a school many years ago, actually. It's quite an old example.
Yeah.
But the pupils wanted to add in, and you'll notice that there's other buttons here as well that we can use, which enables us to make the poster a page width as well. So it's really important that when you start to share your ThingLinks with your students, that they're aware of all of these buttons that can really help them. And remember, this is for all your students. So knowing that they can enlarge things, knowing they can use immersive reader, knowing they can use the translate buttons as well. But this poster, which is just a text-based poster, imagine, you know, enabling your students to bring this to life. And this is in the students, they wanted to say how important it was to have somewhere private when they could talk to the teacher. So they created these little videos to actually...
We give each other hugs to feel safe.
So this is the poster that they created to show the behaviors they wanted adults to show them. And I think that the young people's voices just gives it meaning. You develop empathy, a connection with the actual, the intention behind the poster as well. So it's really easy if you've got existing posters, existing materials, how you can use ThingLink not only to make them accessible, use all the options like translate. Imagine this as a poster with a QR code so parents and carers could see it as well. It really, really does help to bring it to life. So this is why we think that it's important that you think about ThingLink in terms of the features and functions for accessibility, but how it can be used then to support learners. Thinking about creating a virtual tour, for example, of a classroom where you can support transitions for learners going to a new classroom, going to new school. That's why school tours are just so valuable. And it's not just schools. Think about when going on to college or university or workplaces, being able to create these kinds of experiences, which are just going to enable those learners to have a good transition, learn about health and safety, learn about where to put the coat when they go into their lab. But this other last slide, and I know that we're going to come on to your examples next, Claudia, is all about how you can cultivate connections with your learners by using the different tags. And one of the kind of upsides of COVID, if you like, and the pandemic, I think we saw some really ingenious uses of technology. And working in ThingLink at the time, I think we saw so many great examples of creativity from teachers. And in this example, it's a school tour like you'd see most school tours. But when you go into the classroom, the teachers here were able to use this to give personalized messages for the students as well. Now, this is a great example. It was done 6 years ago, can you believe it? But this could now be made even better if there was closed captions in, for example, so that students could then observe it. So if you've got things already that you've created, go back and add in these accessibility tools, because you can strengthen the connection with your learners, for all your learners, and make sure they can really appreciate the effort that you've put in to building something that's really going to support them. So Claudia, I'm going to hand over to you now, because I know that you've got a great example where we start to think about how we can use ThingLink for professional development for teachers as well.
Of course, but before moving forward, I just wanted to add something about cultivating connections. If we actually use the reader within the messages that lovely teachers left for their students, we also have access to AAC, which is an added value that it's so difficult to have, because sometimes SPED teachers have to translate step by step the messages, the books, the reading passages that they would like to use with their students that maybe are autistic or nonverbal or similar. Whereas with that, we just we like, we click a button and it's done. And this is an added value that it's so precious for both our teachers and our students. I just wanted to highlight that. Sorry, but for me it's very, very important, because for me, to me, accessibility is a paramount. In my role as a professional development teachers, for my teachers in Aosta Valley, I believe that accessibility is the key. The more we integrate accessibility into professional development, the more confident educators become in supporting every learner. And when we give thoughtful examples to our teachers, teachers don't feel lost, and they learn step by step how to create meaningful learning experiences for their students. And like this, they can empower not only themselves, but their students. And this is an example that I created for my teachers. So here, basically, what you do, you create the perfect expedition. So you go step by step, and you've got a selection of thoughtful examples and guidelines that teachers can follow in order to create the perfect expedition for their students. Students are not passive learners anymore. They become active listeners and active creators of their learning, because they're going to create interactive images. They're going to use their phone to create pano images that will transform in 360, and they will explain what they saw, what they heard, what they've seen during their travels or their meaningful experiences. And then I thought that it could be the best thing ever to also to add multimodality to all that, and thinking, why not creating a choice board, add video, audio, realia, and then of course assessment. Why do we have to assess the product? Why not assessing the process? And well, this is the me of the past giving instruction to teachers and saying, hi, so this is the lesson plan, and in this lesson plan, as you can see, I divided into chunks in order for them not to have too many information at once, and not to feel overwhelmed by the new information I was giving them. So to me, this is a new way of teaching, but also a new way of learning, because then you can give them extras, you can give them thoughtful examples, you can give them for instance, and of course, you can allow them and to help them express themselves and their feelings and their question marks, if they got any, and to get back to me, and so that we can grow together. And this is an added value that, in my opinion, these kind of teaching and learning techniques allow us as teachers to have. And this is wow, this is a blog post that basically explains how to transform school districts into a digital being using ThingLink. And so basically what you do, you put documents, you create hubs, ThingLink hubs, in order to get everything in order, everything in one place, everything there, everything multimodal, everything to choose from. And this is another example to be studied and cherished, because we learn from each other, we grow thanks to each other. And so this is another, in my opinion, added value that we need to take in great consideration. What do you think?
It's amazing. It's great because this district, it's actually a district in Scotland, they've used the accessibility principles to create resources for all the teachers across the entire district. And yeah, it's been so well received that we've turned that into a case study as well. So everyone can go and have a look at that case study and explore some of the materials that they've created for their teachers with accessibility in mind as well. I'm just going to start to bring this to a close now, and just go through to some other examples of learner-specific resources and student creation, because I think you mentioned a really nice concept there around interactive choice boards and universal design of learning. So ThingLink and interactive choice boards are perfect partners for universal design of learning. And here's an example in action, which we would encourage you to explore. It's an oldie but a goodie, but the icons have got differentiation built in, whether it's a blue icon or a red icon to show the different types of tasks. You've got a check in there as well. There's also that human connection where teachers have got videos of themselves connecting with the students. And you've also got weekly lesson ideas and the focus and different types of tasks, whether you're doing it online or in person as well. And I just think this is a fantastic example of UDL in action. And then once your learners are au fait with all of the accessibility tools, think about how they might use this for documenting environments, using authentic narratives, and then going through to multimodality in their research projects as well. And Claudia, you've put a lovely example in there for people to explore, which is all about the future of study guides as well. So just bringing this to a close then, I think it's really important to remember that we've talked about, accessibility for creators. We've talked about accessibility for people that are engaging with the content, but the endpoint also matters as well. And with ThingLink, you have confidence that that experience can be delivered in the most optimum way for the desired outcome. That might be a personal experience, whether that's on a laptop, a phone, a tablet, an iPad. Your learner is going to be able to view it as an individual experience. But then you might want shared experiences where you're viewing it on maybe an interactive panel or through a projector, which is on a classroom or a group scenario so that people can engage with it together. And then, of course, you've got immersive spaces if you're lucky enough to have an immersive space. And ThingLink has a tool built in as well, so that if you go into your experience, you can see what it's going to look like on each of those screens as well, just so that you as a creator can have confidence that it looks like what it's going to look like in those areas. So I think we've probably come to the end of the presentation now. There's lots of information online for you. You can go to the support materials that Ivan has created. There's also a section on accessibility on the ThingLink website. And on the support materials side, Ivan, you've also got all the policies as well, haven't you, for accessibility? Do you want to mention those?
Yes, so two important things there is if you follow the link Louise kindly included at the end slide here, is you will find a guide on creating accessible content. This is not fully up to date, but we will address that soon. This will basically go over how to actually use a lot of the tools we offer, a lot of the tools we covered on various sections of this webinar. So again, how to add closed captions and how to structure the files, how to use alt text and so on. And the second part of this is, yes, there is also the accessibility statement. Again, this is something we will update soon. I cannot speak of the exact timeline yet, but I would expect it to be sometime in May or June, if not earlier than that. The accessibility statement you can find here right now is for the accessibility view and for viewing ThingLink content. The upcoming revision will also cover the content creation side, as we discussed earlier today.
Brilliant. So all that's left to say then is a huge thank you to both of you for putting this webinar together. We're going to make this webinar available to people to watch on catch up. They'll be able to, we're going to chunk it up as well into different sections as well, and make sure that we've got timestamps within our YouTube copy as well. Claudia, we love having you on the webinars. Thank you for that incredible example where you're weaving those principles into the materials that you're using in your role to educate other teachers. It's just so important. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And thank you to everyone that's watching as well. We don't want this to be the end of the discussion. If you would like to get in touch with us, please do contact Ivan, contact myself, or contact Claudia, or you can email our generic support@thinglink.com if there's any way that we can support you in using the accessibility features, or even how to use ThingLink in a way that promotes that inclusive environment. We'd love to hear from you. Our door is always open. So thank you so much for watching, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.